Hello and welcome to what is honestly just a very exciting showcase video because today we're taking a look at the just released Ashfall, a camping survival and needs mod by Merlord. Without question, this is one of the biggest mod releases of 2020, and it has been a long time coming. I've been just eagerly looking forward to this release for well over a year, and now that it's here, I can't wait to dive in. But of course, first I should note that down links are of course, down below, along with links to the mod's wiki pages and, the mod's gameplay trailer and all that. And now, that out of the way, let's just hop right into the juicy contents of what this mod does. But first, a bit of history. Ashfall is the long-awaited successor to the 2018 winner of the May Modathon, Frostwind, a camping survival mod that ended up being one of our mods of the year for 2018, and which has a few of the basic kernels that would become Ashfall, though obviously Frostwind is a much simpler beast. The original Frostwind introduced concepts such as the survival skill, setting up campsites, chopping firewood, basic cooking mechanics, keeping an eye on temperature and wearing clothes and armor to stay warm, and other environmental conditions that could affect your character's health. At the time, Frostwind did all this using revolutionary new MWC features, but compared to Ashfall, it really almost seems quaint in comparison. Ashfall does everything that Frostwind did, but better, and with so many more features. The core mechanics with Ashfall are the same. The survival skill and your character's needs to stay warm, but not too warm, hydrated and fed, as well as setting up campsites, chopping firewood, and all that. But with Ashfall, these mechanics are just a visual feast for the eyes, with new components added to your UI. So you can track the condition of your character. Are they hydrated? Are they well fed? Are they comfortable? There's UI bars for just all these, as well as the temperature of the environment, and little icons to indicate whether your character is dry or wet, or under shelter or no, which is just rather important during weather conditions like rain, storms, or snow, to keep your character comfortable. Beyond these UI elements, there's the camping mechanics themselves, which have received a massive visual upgrade and expansion of features since the days of Frostwind. And now you can purchase camping equipment, such as backpacks, pots, kettles, tents, and whatnot from various merchants around Morrowind. And when you equip your backpack, you'll dynamically see your camping gear just displayed on your back. If you have a tent or a kettle or a pot or firewood, it'll just show up on your backpack, a true just visual delight. And if you have the Guar Whisperer, you'll also see this equipment show up in your Guar Companion. And now, when it comes to setting up a campsite, you can pitch camp anywhere in the wilderness by setting up a tent or a combination tent and bedroll, just anywhere you like. And thanks to new improvements with Ashfall, your tent will automatically just stick to the ground, even on slopes or hills, so you won't have any just slightly floating tents like in past camping mods. When setting up camp, you can also put down a bedroll, naturally, and collect firewood from trees using an axe here. Thanks to MWC, you can chop firewood from any tree using any axe in the game. Just to swing the axe at a tree and gradually gather firewood. Once you've collected enough, you can put some firewood down to build a fire pit. And if you have enough firewood, you can add supports to your fire pit that can be used to hang a pot or a kettle on. Then you can light a fire, and remaining close to your fire will just keep you warm. Something that you'll need to keep in mind when wandering about the colder regions like Solstein, or the Shulgrad, or even the Bitter Coast on cold, damp, dark nights. Weather conditions and wetness affect temperature, so you could become chilly just about anywhere. But one of the coolest features in Ashfall, in my humble opinion, is the new cooking mechanics. With your campfire, you can now add a grill, and you'll notice that a lot of the game's ingredients, like crab meat, rat meat, kwama eggs, and so on and so forth, now have nutritional value, and you'll have to, keep yourself fed if you don't want to, starve to death. Raw meat will have to be cooked before it's safe to eat, and to do this, you can simply place your food on the grill, such as your rat meat and kwama eggs, and watch as it cooks in real time. When it's fully cooked, it'll just show up as slightly brown, but watch out not to burn your food. If you leave it on the grill for too long, it'll lose its nutritional value. And I really can't sing the praises of this mod enough. The immersive visual effects here are just really mind-blowing. A few short years ago, I wouldn't have thought such mechanics as these would even be possible in Morrowind. And it is so cool to now be able to cook a meal in-game and actually see it cook in real time. And this isn't just limited to the grill either. You can add a kettle to your campfire to boil water and brew tea, and when the water is about to start boiling, you'll see your kettle start to emit steam. And likewise, you can add a cooking pot to your campfire in order to make stew by throwing in various ingredients like, rat meat and ash yams. And when your stew is cooked, your pot will just have a bit of steam, coming from it. And when you take or add water to your cooking pot, you can just visually see how much water is in said pot. A minor, but again, just really immersive visual addition here. Speaking of, like with food and hunger, you'll need to keep yourself hydrated, and you can use bottles, cups, glasses, pitchers, and, other things, and to fill them with water, either from natural bodies of water or from drawing water from a well in town, or by refilling your water supplies from a merchant who also sells hot meals, by the way, or you can even collect water from rain. Once you've collected some water here, depending on where you got it, you might need to just boil it first to, make it safe, which you can do with the kettle and cooking pot. And as mentioned before, you can use the kettle to brew tea, of over 20 different kinds of tea that you can brew, using Morrowind's just various ingredients. And once brewed, you can pour this tea into one of your cups or bottles to drink later. Tea and stews give different kinds of buffs to your character, just, depending on what ingredients you used here. Now, aside from hunger and thirst, you'll also need to sleep periodically, or else suffer drains to your endurance. But aside from that, there's also your personal temperature that you'll need to just, manage here. And as we mentioned before, different regions will have different temperatures, and weather conditions will affect those temperatures. So if you're going out into the frozen wilderness of Solstein, you'll need to pack some warm clothes and armor, and different types of clothing and armor will just affect how warm your character will be when just out wandering the world here. Get too cold, and you could suffer, but by the same token, if you're out in just a hot region, like the Malagamur region, you could become overheated and suffer from increased thirst and attribute drains, especially near lava. Exposure to severe weather will also increase the risk that you'll catch a disease or sickness. You'll have to dress and plan accordingly to just where you are, giving the game here just a whole new dynamic and survival mechanic that you'll have to keep an eye on. In addition to all this, there's also a world-class mod config menu, where you can tweak various settings, like setting, which survival mechanics are turned on, what condition updates you'll get, how quickly you'll get hungry, thirsty, and tired, and also what items count as food or drinks, and which merchants offer camping supplies and food and water. It should go without saying that Ashfall is just an incredibly feature-heavy mod, and thanks to MWC, it's compatible with almost everything just out of the box here, including the province mods like Tiny Built or big overhauls like Morrowind Rebirth. And while Necessities of Morrowind may have more new items, food and drinks, I don't think any other Needs mod offers quite as many just features as Ashfall. And without question, I would say it is now the ultimate survival and needs-based mod for Morrowind. I could not possibly recommend this mod enough. It is a true game changer, and one of the biggest mods of 2020. If you haven't checked it out yet, you absolutely should. It is just utterly fantastic. But that's all I have to say on the matter, so as always, links are down below. So thanks for watching, stay safe, and I'll see you all next time.